Before starting to measure OD values of the samples, we need to measure OD of the blank. Take 100 microliters of the A buffer from the test tube using pipette. Take the cuvette from above and don't touch the sides of the cuvette since it can distort a spectrophotometric measurement. Be careful to pour the liquid right to the bottom of the cuvette to avoid getting liquid on the sides, since it can interfere with the measurement that goes through the bottom of the cuvette. Measure OD of the blank. In the next steps, measure OD of the samples F0, F1, F2, F3, and F4, which were previously prepared during ion exchange chromatography experiment. Write down your values. Make sure to use buffer B as a blank to the sample F4. If OD value of the sample is higher than 1.6, then dilution is needed. If the value is very high and undetectable, dilution can be started with the ratio 1 to 10. Label the tubes with diluted samples. Suck the liquid till the first stop to avoid getting bubbles. To get a better result, mix the sample by pipetting up and down. In the next steps, SDS loading samples are prepared. After labeling the tubes, sample, buffer, and DTT solution go into each tube. First, we add 12.5 microliters of Lamely loading buffer to each tube. Then, 10 microliters of each sample are added. Finally, 2.5 microliters of DTT solution are added. Take into consideration that bigger volumes are added first. It's important to note that OD measurements connected to ion exchange chromatography are performed. The OD value of a sample for SDS PAGE should be around 0.6. Samples are diluted with water if it's needed. Samples are placed into the incubator for 10 minutes at 60 degrees Celsius. Two glasses for protein running with the gel between them are loaded into the chamber. Make sure to remove the strip from the glass so that current passes through it. The other two glasses are used as a counterweight. Be sure that glasses are tightly sealed within the construction. Add SDS load buffer into the inner chamber. Make sure that nothing is leaking out like in the video. Contact the supervisor in case of leaking. Add SDS load buffer into the outer chamber with the volume corresponding to the number of gels. Take the clamps out slowly, not to damage the pockets. For loading the buffer together with the protein markers, use thin and long pipette tips and touch the front of the glass and slide down to the pocket. Focus on the pocket. Don't go too deep. In the middle of the pocket, slowly release 20 microliters of the sample and don't release the pipette till you take it out. Otherwise, you might suck the liquid back. Load other pockets with the samples. Add one more protein marker. Put the cap on the chamber. Make sure to connect plus to plus and minus to minus and connect the cables to the power device and turn it on. Run the gel at 100 volt for 30 minutes. Make sure the bubbles appear when the gel is running. Increase the voltage up to 200 volt and wait till samples are 1 cm above the edge to turn the running off. Turn it off. Disappearing bubbles is an indicator that the running of the gel is stopped. Take the cap and pour the buffer from the inner chamber to the outer chamber and assemble the construction. Take the glasses out and with the help of opener unseal the glass. Remove the gel from the glass plates very carefully. Take care not to destroy the gel. Wear gloves when touching the gel. Place the gel into a transporting dish with the SDS loading buffer. Watch the gel under UV light. No dyeing is needed, as stain-free gel is used. Clean the UV chamber with deionized water and napkins. Avoid forming bubbles when placing the gel into the UV chamber. Analyze the bands comparing to the protein markers. The following images represent the SDS page results of two groups. Image A is an original image taken under illumination with UV light, and image B is an optimized image. Image C shows marker bands with the molecular weights in kilodalton. To understand the results, the molecular weights from image C are assigned to the marker bands in the original image and compared to the fractions from F0 to F4. According to the literature values for molecular weights of the analyzed proteins, they can be identified in the gel. It is better to compare the results of the fractions for group B2 because the results of group B9 are blurred. It could happen because of mistakes during loading the samples into the pockets of the gel or the inappropriate amount of time that the gel was run could also result in the blurred bands.